here we are back again. This is hole number 2. The bag is bulging at the end, whether that be with shrimps or shells, shrimps and sandpipes, but it's certainly bulging and it's heavy. Don't know whether you can see it there, it might just be the sunlight might be reflecting a bit, but it's certainly bubbling up there. Pulling that towards us. It looks pretty clean. Let's look at this. What we got here? Wash. Yeah, there's a few nice shrimps in there. A few nice shrimps. Little weaver fish as well. Let's have a little look. I think there must have just been a little bit of muck in there, just making it look as if it's got more. To fix that hole when we get back as well. Fishing just behind where they're just about to break. So I'm probably fishing about 60 yards off, and then I'll work my way in a little bit as the tide turns. But yeah, about 60 yards off. We stand here. Don't want to go any deeper than that really, because it's not only is it rough and get walloped by waves, but there's no point because this time of year the shrimps are more shallow in. Trolley to us. Right, so we've been fishing an hour and we're at 2 holes. So we've got another hour's fishing. Then we'll head back in and we'll go get some boiling done. Not as good as the last one, but there's still shrimps there, so that's what we've come for. So what I say about the cod end knot there, I've just literally unlooped it and it just pulls out. There you go, and it's out. Good as the last one, but hey ho. Right, here's that weaver fish here. Like, obviously I'm holding on to it because I've got gloves on, but that doesn't really make any difference at all because it can still go through my gloves. Right, that's the weaver fish there. So when you hear of people standing on fish and the feet blow up, these are what you stand on. And what they do is they bury themselves in the sand. If I can wind it up a little bit, there you go. Just squeeze it. See that black spike there? You got 1, 2 and 3, just 1, 2 and 3. So what it does is, as you stand on that, it pushes down and it pushes poison into your foot, and that is why it gives you an allergic reaction, and that's a weaver fish. But not only on the top there, you've also got them around the gills here and underneath. Obviously I wouldn't go like that because I've had them sting my hands before and it's not very nice and it hurts. But yeah, that's a weaver fish. This is why it's important when you go to the beach, put your shoes on, thick soles as well, because they'll go through a sandal, a thin sandal, not a problem. Yeah, what they do is they bury themselves in the sand. Try and find a little bit of wet mud here. There you go. There you are, look. There, look. You can't even see it, it's gone. It's there. That is where that weaver fish is there. His little spike sticks out. There you go, there he is. There. So if I put him on again, ready? He's in. And you can't even see him. You can't even see him, so as you're walking, you don't even know you've stood on him. So that's why you walk to wear your sandals. I can give you a word of advice. I've never stood on one because I've always known they're around, so I've always worn stuff on my feet. Right, here we go. It's not as good as the last one. Crabs, let's see, take all the fish out, all the shells we can take out once we're boiled up. This is what I was hoping to show you in the last video, just how well these nets fish. They do fish very well. It's just very unfortunate that the last shrimping video back in March wasn't a very successful one. But as you can see, they catch, and the shrimps just couldn't have been on the ground. But they're on the ground today, which is nice. They're all good, decent sized ones. So I say this riddle here will get rid of all the small ones. Don't want any of the small ones. Show for my lad. There's nothing stopping the fisheries coming and having a look at my catch, so it's best to clean them as best as possible. Take any small fish that you can out. You know, so we're not supposed to be taking small ones off, and obviously this is why I riddle. This riddle's a 6mm riddle, so anything that's on top I can keep. Anything that's small goes through the mesh. There you go. Some more beautiful shrimp. Let's not waste any more time. Give it a quick drink. It's always good to have fluids as well. Fluids up. Doing hot work doing this, believe it or not, even though you're in the sleep. Yeah. That's the net there. So obviously the shrimps come in that end. The chain foot rope exactly the same. Kick up and in, and this is the business end. This is where the shrimps get emptied out. That's how it fishes. That's how it fishes in the water like that. Obviously I'm up that end, pulling it, and the shrimps come here. I bought this net is exactly the same kind of net. I bought this from the same fella that I bought the last one from. Obviously this one was his standard size net, and the one that he'd made me was a custom net that I'd asked him to make me. I bought these off of eBay For those guys that have looked at my videos and have, got an interest in it and go, oh, I'd like to know where they're getting his nets from. He doesn't sell them anymore, sadly, on eBay. And obviously I don't think there's anywhere else that sells ones like this. I mean, you might be able to get them from abroad. I mean, I don't know whether it'd be this thing called, you could even have a go at making them yourself. Just remember that if you are making your net, you want to measure it. So you want, say you got 5 foot net, so you want 5 foot across the top, 5 foot across the bottom, and if you've got 2 foot either side, so you want 14 foot of net that's stretched. That's what you want, because if you've got your 5, your 2, and your 10, so you've got 2 sides of 2, 2 sides of 5, and you want that stretched out so it sits like that, and that is how your net will fish. So once those shrimps come up in, they're not getting out unless there's a big hole in the end of the net. It's important to check your net holes as well before fishing, like you would if you're going fishing with a rod or something like that. Check your fishing tackle, do the same thing with this. But as this is going through the air like this is how it'll fish through the water. Let's go and have a little look, see what we can get. That wind's not eased off at all. Still up there in the 20s. Just sit that round my waist. So away we go. Sometimes when the shrimps are really shallow, you can actually see them being kicked over the chain. When the water's not as bubbly as it is today, you can actually see them, the chain working, doing the job, actually kicking them up out of the sand. Just release that a bit. There we go. Full weight's on my waist now. With it being a smaller net, you can cover a bit more ground as well and pull it a bit faster. Because it's got a long length on it, there's no chance of it lifting off the ground at all. It works the same way as a big boat. The big boats, they tow their nets at about, the beam boats, tow them at about 4.5, 5 knots. They could tow them as fast as they wanted, really. Because there's so much weight there, they wouldn't lift off the bottom. Whereas if you were trawling with a trawl net, because they're only very light on the foot rope, you can only really tow them at a maximum of about 3 knots. The smaller boats, the bigger boats are a little bit more because the gear's a lot more heavier. But I'm pulling this at a steady walking pace. About 60 yards out now from the trolley, so there's the trolley there, about 60 yards out. I've just been walloped by a wave. Right, I'll turn the camera off now, just going to turn around and we'll get motoring on, see what we can get before the tide's out. See you shortly.